The topic autoimmune disease and the immune tolerance is based from the basis 10th edition. One can read from the 9th edition as well, as there is no significant changes seen regarding this specific topic. So it's a brief, small session discussion made easily digestible to you guys. So let's start. In autoimmune diseases, there's a reactions against self-antigens, immune reactions against the self-antigens, which is known as also autoimmunity. It's an important cause of certain diseases in humans, estimate to affect about 1 to 2% of the US population, and there's an increased trend also seen in our region as well. The autoimmune disease further broadly divided into two categories: organ-specific or systemic. As the name said, organ specific, it's directed against the immune response, is basically directed against a single organ or tissue, so that's why known as organ specific disease. And the second category is a systemic or generalized disease, which means that the autoimmune reactions are against widespread antigens. It might be all over the body and every organs or in the vessels, usually seen in the vessels cases, the vasculitis one. A specific chart about this is given in the basis regarding organ specific and the systemic autoimmune disease. What you need to know or learn about is that organ specific, you have to remember a few of the main things like myasthenia gravis. You should know about it. This is organ specific. Graves disease, Goodpasture syndrome is very important one. And the systemic category, you should know SLE and the rheumatoid arthritis. Specific terms are given in this topic of autoimmune disease, like immunologic tolerance. You should know the definition of it. That is, it is the phenomena of unresponsiveness to antigen induced by exposure of lymphocytes to that antigen. And other term is self-tolerance. As the name said, it refers to the lack of responsiveness to an individual's own antigen. And obviously this self-tolerance deficiency or the loss of self-tolerance leads to autoimmunity. The mechanisms of self-tolerances can be broadly divided into two categories. The one is central tolerance and the other is peripheral tolerance. The name central tolerance and the peripheral tolerance is depend on the where the event is locating and where the scenario has been going on about these rejections or tolerance. Like for example, central tolerance, the central lymphoid organs comes in this categories, and the peripheral tolerance means that something is going at the end of the peripheral tissue. In central tolerance, the immature self-reactive T and B lymphocytes clones that recognize self-antigen during their maturations occur in the central lymphoid organs. Like for the T cells, as you know, they are developing in the thymus region, and about B cells are in the bone marrow. So these type of self-antigens during their maturations are killed or rendered harmless. So this is central tolerance. In thymus, when immature T lymphocytes encounter the self-antigens, then many of the cells die by apoptosis. In compared to T cells, the B cells, when developing in the bone marrow, many of the cells reactivate or they change the gene receptors, which are also known as gene editing. So when they are encountered with the self-antigen, and the B cells changes their gene rearrangement. So because of that, they express new antigen receptors because of gene rearrangement, which are not specific for the self antigens, and this process is called as receptor editing. And if it's not been happened, like if receptor editing for some reason not worked, the self-reactive cells undergo apoptosis, as we mentioned in the T cells in the thymus. Peripheral tolerance is the second branch of the immunological tolerance after the central tolerance. It takes place in the immune periphery. Its main purpose is to ensure that self-reactive T and the B cells, which are escaped from the central tolerance, and they occurs in the peripheral or in the blood, they are not to their main functions to inhibit them and to avoid them to cause autoimmune diseases. There are many mechanisms of peripheral tolerance, like direct inactivation of the effector T cells by either clonal deletions or the conversion of the regulatory T cells, which also be seen in the diagram as well, or induction of the energy. It's also a method found in the peripheral tolerance. Energy is the lymphocyte that recognize self-antigens. They are rendered functionally unresponsiveness. So when the self-antigens, T cells or B cells, are functionally unresponsive, then this phenomena is energy, like they are going to be hibernating phase or suppressive phase. So this is energy, and it has been seen in the peripheral tolerance, not in the central phase. Our body immune system is in the state of the balance, like the lymphocyte activation is there, which is required for the defensive mechanisms against the foreign invaders, and in response or in contradicting this, balance is achieved by the mechanism of tolerance, which prevent reactions against self-antigens. The pathogenesis of the autoimmunity, like there are multiple factors which causes this autoimmune diseases, and they are including susceptibility genes which interfere with self-tolerance, and the other factors are the environmental factors like infections, tissue injury, or inflammation, which leads towards the lymphocytes entry into the tissue and activation of self-reactive lymphocytes and tissue damage. The general feature of the autoimmune disease is that it is chronic, and sometimes relapses and remissions are there, and the damage is often progressively. And pathological manifestation of these autoimmune diseases are based on the nature of the underlying immune response, like there are autoantibodies against the body or tissue or the receptors, or there are T cells which are going to be destroying your tissue. For example, the T cells abnormalities are seen in the disease like the psoriasis and multiple sclerosis, and some types of inflammatory bowel disease as well. Since in some autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, we see both antibodies and T cells as immediate inflammation. In autoimmune disease, above on the top is the SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, which involve every organs. In one of the sessions in my practical, I already mentioned this, that SLE involves multiple organs in our body, and by producing autoantibodies. The hallmark of SLE is the production of the autoantibodies, several of which antibodies to double-stranded DNA, which is also known as Smith antigen, SM antigen. These are virtually diagnostic, basically. This antibody is diagnostic. So if the scenarios comes to you like SLE and the production of antibodies mentioned that there is a double-stranded DNA, which is also known as Smith antigen, then it is virtually diagnostic for the SLE. There are other antibodies as well which are pathogenic in this disease, like ANA. This is directed against nuclear antigen, and they are further divided into the 4 categories, like DNA, histones, non-histone proteins, and the nuclear antigens. You don't need to remember all, but you know that after anti-Smith antibody, there is also a role of ANA. And the criteria, there's a criteria for the SLE diagnosis, classification, like if someone is presented a case scenario of the female of reproductive age and black uh, race and having a butterfly rash in the face, and with the having the renal disorders history like proteinuria in the urine and thrombocytopenia, and if you are going to test through the immunological test, then ANA is there, and the anti-DNS antibody and the anti-SM antibody is there, then the most likely it is SLE. In its pathogenesis, genetic factors are there and the environmental factors are there, and immunological factors is also there. In SLE, the mechanism of injury is most commonly in systemic lesions caused by the immune complexes are made in this disease, and they are categorized in of the type 3 hypersensitivity. As you know, there are 4 types of hypersensitivity: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. And in SLE, there is type 3 hypersensitivity. Antigen antibody complex are made in there, and they are deposited in the various organ or tissues, like commonly seen in the renal glomeruli, and which by the support of the immune complex deposition. And there is then the secondary event, secondary T cell infiltrate is there in the kidney and leading towards the kidney damage. In kidney, the most common cause in the form of the glomerular nephritis and the tubular interstitial nephritis. There are a lupus nephritis term in the kidney, and it has got the 6th pattern in known. If the kidney is involved by the SLE, then it's known as lupus nephritis, which is further classified into the 6th pattern of glomerular disease. The 6 classes of the lupus nephritis are as: number 1 class is minimal mesangial lupus nephritis, which is very uncommon, and the second one is mesangial proliferative lupus nephritis. This is class 2, and the class 3 is focal lupus nephritis. It's an involvement of the glomes. It means the kidney glomes. If it involves less than 50, then it is focal lupus nephritis. And there is a diffuse lupus nephritis, which is class 4, and class 5 is a membranous lupus nephritis, and in the class 6 you will see sclerosis or the fibrosis of the glomeruli, and it represents the end stage kidney disease. And there are changes also seen in the tuberous level and the interstitial level. In skin, as mentioned, I already mentioned that the butterfly rash is the typical presentation involving the 50% of the patient. Joints are also involved in this disease. Pericarditis is there. Drug-induced SLE, you should know some of the drug like isoniazid, which is given in the tuberculosis therapy, and the penicillamine is there, hydralazine is there, and anti-tumor necrotic factor is there therapy, which is effective in the RA treatment. It's also causing SLE. So few of the drugs should be remembered, like amongst the top of are there hydralazine, procainamide, isoniazid, and D-penicillamine. The other diseases of autoimmune categories are rheumatoid arthritis, which is a chronic inflammatory disease of the joints, and though they may involve the extra-articular tissues like skin, blood vessels, lungs, and heart, and there's evidence that these are autoimmune-based disease. You will study this in the topic of the joint disorders of the disease. The other disease is Sjogren's syndrome. The Sjogren's syndrome is a chronic disease characterized by the dry eyes. This is very important point, which is also known as keratoconjunctivitis sicca. And the dry mouth is there because of the xerostomia. and resulting and from the immunologic immediate destruction of the lacrimal and salivary glands. Means if there is no salivation in your mouth and there is no lubrication in the eye because of the destruction of their glands, so your eye becomes dry and your mouth becomes dry as well due to the lack of salivary glands function. So this is a Sjogren's syndrome. It is and amongst the other disorders associated with the SLE, there are some patients who has also polymyositis, scleroderma, vasculitis, missed connective tissue, and thyroiditis disease as well. Grave disease in the thyroid is also linked with the autoimmune disease. So in Sjogren's syndrome, what you need to remember is that there's a decrease in the tears and saliva known as Saka syndrome, and it is due to the lymphocytic infiltration and the fibrosis of the lacrimal and the salivary glands respectively. The infiltrate contains CD4 helper T cells, and some B cells are also there. So in exam oriented questions, if someone is asking about the Sjogren's syndrome and mentioning the CD8, then it's false. In Sjogren's syndrome, there is infiltrate of the predominantly seen CD4, which are helper T cells, and though few B cells and plasma cells are also seen. They are seen in the age of 50 to 60, means or adult age or near to the elderly age, and they are most commonly seen in the women, as we already mentioned that most of these autoimmune diseases are seen in the women and gender. Autoimmune disease also involving the thyroid gland, and the type is grave disease, which is also seen in the females commonly. The other autoimmune disease is systemic sclerosis, and it is characterized by the chronic inflammation due to the autoimmunity, and there are widespread damage to the small blood vessels, and the progressive interstitial fibrosis is there, and the perivascular fibrosis is there, which is seen in the skin and the multiple organs. That's why they are known as sclerosis. Scleroderma means fibrosis of the skin. The cause of systemic sclerosis is not known, but there are three likely results which are showing that these are the pathogenesis of the disease, like autoimmunity, which is proposed that CD4 T cells is there, and which accumulate in the skin and then release cytokines, and the further inflammatory response is there. And the other factor is vascular damage. Why microvascular damage is seen in this systemic sclerosis, and the intimal proliferation is there, and the fibrosis. Progressive fibrosis is a characteristic feature of this disease, and that's why this is known as the sclerosis, as mentioned. Virtually every organ is involved in this systemic sclerosis, and most commonly changes are seen in the skin, GI tract, and the musculoskeletal system. In the skin, there are diffuse fibrosis or atrophy of the skin, usually seen in the finger and the distal upper regions like extremities and upper arm, shoulders. And if you cut these areas tissue from these sides, then on microscopy they will show perivascular infiltrate containing CD4 T cells, edema is there, and collagen fibers. The other diseases mentioned in these autoimmune disorders are missed connective tissue disease, polyarthritis nodosa, and the other vasculitis. Few words about the polyarthritis nodosa is that These are characterized by the necrotizing inflammation of the wall of the blood vessels and showing strong evidence of immunological pathogenesis. And the other disease is IgG4 related disease. This is the microscopic view of the skin. The one on the left side is normal skin. As you can see, hair follicles, hair shaft is seen over there. And on the right, you can see pinkish areas, abundant pink areas, which are indicating deposition of dense collagen in this skin with virtual absence of the appendages like hair follicles. And the arrow indicate inflammation. The blue dot areas are like chronic inflammatory cells, lymphocytes. So this is the focus of inflammation.